How do we know if reality exists or not? It's entirely possible that we are in a computer simulation. How do ideas come together? Where does knowledge come from? How do we know what we know? He argues that the individual is really just unconscious forces embedded within the brain. He argues that this is the manifestation of God that is the underlying basis of all reality. Another way to resolve the crisis in faith is through philosophy, epistemology. Epistemology really just means the theory of knowledge. How do ideas come together? Where does knowledge come from? How do we know what we know, right? Because the crisis of faith is essentially, how do we know? So epistemology is really philosophy's attempt to resolve this crisis in faith. And Kant proposed the idea of active subjectivity. Active subjectivity is the idea that we are not just passive consumers of information. We actively participate in reality. We imagine reality in a way that allows us to understand it. What Kant tells us is we imagine space and time onto reality, which creates a world of appearance for us to understand. The problem with Kant is, what is reality? And Kant doesn't know. In fact, he tells us it is impossible to truly understand reality. And this creates a problem because if that's the case, then how do we know if reality exists or not? It's entirely possible that we are in a computer simulation. So Hegel comes along and resolves this issue by introducing the idea of the Geist. The Geist, the spirit, the mind. He argues that this is the manifestation of God that is the underlying basis of all reality. And from this reality comes the material world. What will then happen is that Marx will come along and he will argue that Geist is really history. Hegel believes that the Geist is in a process of reconciling itself with the world. It's becoming the world, and it's bringing us along with it so that one day everyone will achieve full enlightenment. Marx inverts Hegel and puts the material world before the world of ideas. And he argues that history, it is a movement of class struggle. And the end of history is when all class struggle ceases and we all become equal in a worker's paradise. Why? Because as capitalism becomes worse and worse, as the proletariat increase in number but are exploited in greater, but are oppressed by the capitalists, eventually the proletariat, you and me, will develop class consciousness. And we will unite, we will overthrow the capitalist class through collective action. So this is Marx. Now, what will happen is Freud will come along and he will present a completely different conception of the movement of history and of the individual. He argues that the individual is really just unconscious forces embedded within the brain. So these three forces are the superego, the ego, and the id. The ego is who we think we are. The superego are these social forces that act upon us. And the id are these hidden sexual urges. And what he will argue is actually these hidden sexual urges are the true foundations of who we are as well as of civilization. And he names two of them. The first is what is called the Oedipal complex. And the second is Electra complex. So remember that Oedipus is a character from Greek mythology, a king who killed his father and married his mother. Electra is also a character from Greek mythology, a woman who wanted to kill her mother and marry his father. Freud was remarkably well read in Greek mythology as well as world literature. So he argues these are the two fundamental bases of who we are. If you're a man, you have the Oedipal complex. If you're a woman, you have the Electra complex. Now, this is all strange because Kant makes sense, Hegel makes sense, Marx makes sense, and they all seem to flow from each other. And then you have Freud. So the question then is, where did he get this idea? Where's this from? How did he develop this idea? Everyone sort of knew that Freud's theory of the unconscious is problematic. And he had a very famous student, his best student, his heir apparent, named Carl Jung. Carl Jung really saw Freud as a father, and he worshipped Freud. And he wanted to improve on Freud's theory of the unconscious. And over time, what Carl Jung will do is he will systemize this idea. Okay, so for Carl Jung, we have the ego, and the ego is made up of two forces, the conscious force and the subconscious. The subconscious is also divided into the personal as well as the collective, unconscious. So the personal unconscious are just our memories or experiences. The collective unconscious is the collection of all societies' memories and experiences, and they are captured and expressed whenever we engage in society. When we eat the food, when we talk to people, when we watch movies, when we read books. The collective unconscious is embedded through society. You breathe it like you would breathe air. Jung also says that we have the animus and the anima. In other words, we are made up of two opposing forces, the male and the female. There's a duality to us. So when we meet people, the ego projects a persona. The persona is just basically our best self in a certain social context. So in school, you're a student and you try to be the best student. At home, you're a daughter. At McDonald's, you're a friend. So you are different personas in different social contexts. We try to project our best self, but we are made up of a lot of bad memories, bad thoughts. So the ego suppresses the worst aspects of us in a shadow form. So the shadow is really the alter ego, the ego. And this, Jung argues, is what is called the self. And what he tells us is life is a constant process of self-discovery. If you truly want to master yourself, you must discover who you are. And that will take a lifetime of self-exploration guided by a psychotherapist. And this sounds much more logical. And it's become really the standard model for modern-day psychology. Now, you would think that Freud would be happy that Carl Jung came up with this new idea on how to improve his theory. But Freud was infuriated that Jung would question his theory. In fact, Freud was notorious for being a control freak. He excommunicated Jung, refused to have anything to do with him. In fact, everyone in the community around Freud would now distance themselves from Carl Jung, and there would be no reconciliation between the two ever. And that's why Carl Jung had to go and develop this theory. And it's strange because all Carl Jung is trying to do is improve Freud. So that gives us a second question. Why was Freud so afraid of criticism? Why was he so secretive? And then the third question that we will look at today is, why did this idea become so popular? In fact, the ideas of Freud and Carl Jung will become the basis of a major cultural movement called modernism. And modernism is the cultural movement that we still live in today. Now, there are many different definitions of modernism, but for us, the easiest definition is cult of the self. We live in a world, in a society, in a culture that's obsessed with ourselves, with self-improvement, with self-empowerment. So the three questions we're looking at today is, first of all, where did Freud get this idea for the Oedipal complex? Second is, why was Freud so secretive? And the third question is, what explains Freud's popularity? Why was he so influential? And why was his influence able to spread so quickly? Freud became so influential and so famous, not because his psychoanalysis system was designed to help his patients. Ultimately, his system was designed to protect the interests of powerful men. So having made the general argument, what I want to do now is look at the evidence to support the argument. So again, this is a chart that summarizes the different perspectives of these four major thinkers: Kant, Hegel, Marx, Freud. Freud believes that our sexual urges is what underpins our identity as well as civilization. This is because we cannot control our sexual urges that gives rise to religion, which helps us cope with our guilt. He also believes that truth lies in our suppressed memories. In his framework, God has abandoned us. There's really no God in his system. We are left to fend for ourselves. We are left to deal with the trauma of being alone.